Good evening, everyone. This is Naijha Wright-Brown here, reporting on Jane Unchained News. I am getting ready to speak to some fabulous guests today, and I'm so excited because it's been a long time since I've seen these two. I'm going to be introducing you to Dr. Ruby Lathan and Dr. Milton Mills. And if you haven't heard of these two, I don't know where you've been. You've been living under a rock. What the health? Let's get started with some bios. Dr. Ruthie Lathan is a certified holistic nutritionist and inspires with a powerful story of recovering from thyroid cancer through alternative treatment focused on a whole food, plant-based diet. Dr. Lathan was featured in the hit documentary, What the Health. Dr. Lathan works as a researcher and an award-winning engineer and now teaches others how to re-engineer their health and live disease-free. After healing herself of cancer, Dr. Lathan transitioned to a career in plant-based nutrition and received her holistic nutrition certification from the Washington Institute of Natural Medicine. Dr. Lathan is an inspirational and sought-after speaker on motivation, natural health, healing, and plant-based nutrition. Dr. Lathan works with a team of experts to teach people how to heal naturally and achieve optimal health. She hosts health conferences, workshops, vegan and nutrition and cooking classes, and provides customized nutritional coaching programs. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Lathan, and I'm going to share a short video of you.
Awesome.
Every day I was online.
Can we hear that?
Any kind of health professional that I thought could
I think
help
it
me.
started in the middle, but I think I can hear it a little bit.
Naturopaths.
Okay, one second.
Met with everyone. Okay, I wanted to find the answer. I was determined to find the answer. So I was researching every single day online. I was reading books. I was talking to people. I was reaching out for anything that I thought would work. And I had so many things that I was taking. I had to keep a calendar each day just to keep track of what to take when, because there were so many. I was feeling overwhelmed. But it was at that point, I was like, I think I have so much information. I need to take a break. It's just information overload at this point. So I decided to take a vacation for 3 weeks. Now, I had never been on vacation for 3 whole weeks ever in life, but this is the time I decided to do it. And I had this great friend who had a condo in Mexico in this sleepy little town that was gorgeous, but nobody was there because it was the off season. Perfect. So I said, I'll invite a friend each week to come with me because I don't want to go by myself to Mexico. So the first week, my sister came with me and we had an awesome time, just on the beach and just exploring the little town and just having good food and relaxing. And it was great. The second week, a friend of mine came and I thought to myself, I think I want to do the third week just by myself. I just had that feeling that would be better. So the funny thing is, we had rented a stick shift car because my sister drives a stick shift. My friends drive a stick shift, but I don't. So I was like, you gotta teach me how to drive the stick shift before you leave this little town because I'll be stuck and I need to drive it back to the airport. So I'm learning and stripping gears and I get the hang of it. I always knew how to drive a stick shift. I just never actually did it. So now I'm searching around town in this little car, getting around by myself, and everybody's treating me like royalty, like because no one is there because it's the off season. So they're just happy to see anybody. So I'm at this beach by myself. The beach is gorgeous, white sand, super blue ocean. No one is there, so it's quiet. All you hear is the water and a few birds. And I have basically like a butler to myself, this guy dressed in this black vest, so nice and so happy that I'm there. And so I'm having a fresh bowl of guacamole and some fresh juice. And so this is like paradise. Okay. For me, it doesn't get better than guacamole on the beach. Okay. Just period. I'm like, I am in heaven. So I'm sitting there just laying back on the lounge chair, looking at the water, just listening and just I couldn't be more content than I was right then. So I'm just just not forcing anything, not thinking of anything. And then that's when it came to me, what I should do, what protocol I should take, what all of the supplements I could leave off the table, the ones that I should take, what I should do, how I should proceed in terms of working with the doctors, and how to take charge of this process. It came to me in an instant right there. And that is because epiphanies do not happen in chaos. And that's when I learned how to take charge of my life, take charge of the situation, and I won. I beat the cancer on my terms. And if you're trying to figure out how to take charge of your life and to release things so you can let those epiphanies just happen and all the good stuff just flow to you that easily, I would love to help you do just that.
Awesome. Welcome to Naijha Speaks with Jane Unchained's News Network, Dr. Ruby. Thank you for that. And now we got Dr. Milton Mills. Dr. Milton Mills graduated in 1991 from Stanford University School of Medicine and did his internship at the University of California, San Francisco, and completed his residency training at Georgetown University Hospital in Washington, D.C. In the past, Dr. Mills has volunteered as Associate Director of Preventive Medicine for the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, a North American group of doctors and laypersons dedicated to promoting improved healthcare, better and more appropriate nutrition, and higher standards in medical research. Dr. Mills currently works as a critical care physician and internist in Washington, D.C. His broad experience specializing in internal medicine, critical care, and HIV disease, and in the relationship between nutrition and chronic diseases has made him knowledgeable about the unique healthcare needs of all Americans, including minority populations and people facing the unique challenges of dealing with HIV infection. As an African-American physician focusing on preventive medicine, Dr. Mills has delved into some of the environmental and societal influences affecting the health of African Americans and other racial ethnic minorities as the general population. Dr. Mills has lectured and given research seminars across the United States and in Mexico, Canada, Ireland, and the UK on such topics as the negative impacts of meat and dairy consumption on human health, nutrition and HIV/AIDS, nutrition and cancer, and the dietary needs of all humans. Dr. Mills's papers on race and diet have appeared in the Journal of the National Medical Association. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Mills, and I am going to share your video by Mercy for Animals.
All right, great. My name is Dr. Milton Mills. I am an internal medicine trained physician who works now exclusively as an intensive care unit doctor here in the Washington, D.C. metro area. Humans are often described as being omnivores, and that description is actually based on watching what a lot of humans choose to eat. And if you look at the majority of humans on the planet, yes, they do choose to include both animal foods and plant foods in their diet. But in fact, when you actually look at the way our digestive systems are constructed, we have the anatomy and the physiology of a strict plant eater or herbivore. We don't have any adaptations in our digestive system or in our physiology that is adapted to eating or consuming animal flesh. And that's why we can't consume animal flesh without the aid of technology. But when you look at the jaw structure and jaw mechanics, our esophagus, our stomach, and the length of our intestines, it's clear that we have the anatomy of a committed herbivore. You know, one of the questions that all vegans and vegetarians get that drives me literally out of my mind, where do you get your protein? It's an insane question because all protein is originally made by plants. Any protein you get from an animal source is actually recycled protein. And it's much healthier to actually get your protein from the plant sources because it turns out that plant proteins have a much better impact on our health. They are better for your immune system. They lower your risk of diabetes, heart disease, and cancer, whereas animal proteins, on the other hand, increase your risk for cancer, heart disease, and other problems. So you absolutely do not need animal food to get your protein. If you just stop and think about it, the largest, strongest animals on the planet are all strict herbivores. So your elephants, your rhinos, your horses, your giraffes, they're all strict herbivores, and they get all of the protein that they need from plant sources. The atmosphere is something like 80% nitrogen, and only plants have the ability to take nitrogen from the air and change it into a form that can be incorporated into an amino acid, which is then connected together to form these proteins. There has never been a study that has shown that dairy calcium protects our bones from osteoporosis. In fact, the majority of people of color are lactose intolerant. So for instance, 95% of Asians are lactose intolerant. 73% of African Americans are lactose intolerant. 74% of Native Americans are lactose intolerant. And approximately 53% of Hispanics are lactose intolerant versus only about 30 to 33% of Caucasian Americans. The watershed moment came when I had this one African American woman who came in and said to me, I'm having this problem. And I said to her, well, you're lactose intolerant. She looked at me and said, oh, I know that. And I said, well, if you know that you're lactose intolerant, why are you continuing to eat dairy foods? And she said to me, because the government says I have to. And that really made me very, very angry, because the government was intentionally encouraging people of color to eat foods that it knew was going to make them sick, not for a health benefit, but because of the lobbying efforts of the dairy industry. It clearly was a case of institutional racism. Dairy products are often touted as the best way to get your calcium, but that is marketing. It is not science. 80% of the disease and premature death that we see could be prevented if people ate differently and switched from a diet that was centered around animal foods to one that was a plant-based diet based on whole plant foods, including whole grains, legumes, greens, fruits, and vegetables. That's a diet that promotes the best overall health for humans. We can avoid and even reverse a lot of these chronic diseases by changing to a plant-based diet.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Mills and Mercy for Animals, for that video. That kind of sets the stage for, I mean, if you listen to that and then don't make a change, then I don't really know what to tell you. Thanks for joining us today. So having said all of that, let's start with your journey. So Dr. Lathan, we know your journey was you had thyroid cancer and you set out to do something about this on your own. What was that journey like? The challenges that you went through, and how long did it take?
Sure. So it was a big challenge, because not very many people thought that was a good idea to do that, but that's
I'm sure. Our family didn't think it was a good idea to open this restaurant, okay?
Exactly. And that's when you have to know yourself and listen to your gut. And my gut instinct was so strong that I had to just do it the way that I felt was right for me, because I'm like, ultimately I have to live with the consequences of it. So I'm not going to let any pressures, be the deciding factor. So I started researching. I was an engineer. I did a research engineer. And so I'm used to digging into finding the journal articles, finding the studies that had the backing and things like that. So I turned myself into the research project and just was on a quest to find whatever worked. And I tried a variety of things until it became really obviously clear how the body works in terms of healing from cancer and the diet that would be most beneficial. And that's what came about. This is why I switched to a plant-based diet, because all of the evidence, the scientific evidence, the anecdotal evidence, everything was pointing to that's what your body would prefer and needs to help you beat the cancer, to boost the immune system, to get it to the point where it can get back in control of my body and take care of the cancer. Because once you empower the immune system, that's really the mechanism of healing pretty much anything, is your immune system. So the goal was, finding ways to do that via food, via supplementation, via meditation, via visualization, via stress reduction. So it was a complete lifestyle change that I realized I had to make, and not just one piece of it. So it was a long process, but I consulted with numerous professionals and myself, and read tons, and it took about a year. I gave myself a year timeline, because I figured this didn't pop up overnight, so I needed to give it myself a chance to make this change and let the body heal itself. And that's exactly what happened. As I mentioned in the video, I was like, taking everything I could think of, because there's so many ways to heal. There's so many things that help your body, empower the immune system. But I realized you don't have to take them all. You have to look at a few things, like reducing inflammation, and, things that empower the immune system, and things that help fight cancer directly. And so that's when I'm sitting there on the beach and honed in on that philosophy, and came back in charge of what I was going to do, and started, visualizing my success and health, and stopped claiming the cancer, and just relaxing about the entire process. And then, a few months later, rechecked the thyroid with a biopsy, and I was cancer free. So it was
amazing.
Yeah, it was up and down, but it wasn't until I just said, let it go. You tap into the faith that you have, and let go of the fear, and trust the process. You're doing everything you can. And just when the fear creeps in, you start visualizing healing and your success. And that's how I made it through. And so this is why I switched to holistic health, because I know that a lot of things need to go on for people to heal. In addition to the food, it's the mindset, it's a lot of other things. And so that's how I got here.
And a year, and to me, is not a long time. I'm hearing an echo. I think somebody's phone is high. I can hear this echo. I don't know. It's at anyone's phone high. If you can put it on.
I'm not.
Okay. I don't hear it anymore.
Okay.
Year, in my opinion, is not a long time. And I'm going to pose a question to Dr. Mills. And I want to talk about your journey, Dr. Mills. But in listening to what Dr. Ruby is saying about the cancer and curing her own cancer, isn't it a longer process when you go through the medical system? I mean, and I don't know anything about that, but what are your thoughts as a physician focusing on preventative medicine? What is it like?
Sure.
For African Americans and others, like,
all right,
I don't think a year is a long time.
No, it's not. But first of all, I want to kind of put in a little plug. Ruby, I need a link to one of your videos where you tell your story.
Yeah.
I want to embed it into my most recent lecture, which is on diet and cancer.
Sure.
Yes, that's what this is about.
Right. and so along those lines, as I said, my most recent lecture is on it's called Diet and Cancer: How Plant-Based Diets Can Prevent, Treat, and Even Cure Cancer. And then the subtitle is Burning Down the House or Putting Out the Flames. And first of all, let me explain the provenance of that lecture. As you guys know, and probably many of your listeners know, I lecture all over the country, also over in Europe. I've lectured in Canada, Mexico. And what kept happening is that I would be someplace doing a lecture. Someone would come running up to me afterwards to say, I just want to let you know I had this kind of cancer, and I went plant-based, and I'm cured. And these were people who, this wasn't imaginary cancer. This wasn't somebody who, I had a pain or I had felt a lump and I thought I had, no. These were people who had diagnoses from traditional medical centers, and had, in many cases, very advanced cancers documented with CT scans, biopsies, and so forth. A couple of whom were basically told that they were not going to make it, but they kept telling a remarkably consistent story, and that is, once they received the diagnosis, they started looking around for what can I do about this? And what was really consistent was that they eliminated all animal products, animal foods from their diet. They actually went raw vegan for about 6 months, and then most of them phased back in, cooked food. One gentleman is still probably about 80% raw. And they also worked on the sort of toxic environment that they were in. And as Ruby was mentioning about stress, overwork, driving yourself, they worked to get those things out of their lives. And again, in case after case after case, they're completely cured of their cancer. And these are people who are at a minimum 6 years out. The people that I in the lecture, the one guy is 6 years out. The other gentleman was diagnosed in 2013. The other, well, actually, let's see, the other woman with colon cancer was diagnosed, I think, in 2016. So she's 4 years out. And then the woman who had stage 3 breast cancer, which is by traditional medical understanding a death sentence, was diagnosed in 1996, and she's still out there going strong, teaching classes. Her name is Donna Green Goodman. So once I kept getting this story, I felt compelled to do a lecture to help people understand why it is that plant-based diets can cure disease. And it's a two-part mechanism. One, you've got to stop eating the foods that drive the disease and feed the cancer. And those are the animal foods, both because they, as Ruby again mentioned, increase inflammation, which basically feeds cancer or drives cancer, I should say, but also because they stop eating the animal protein, which actually feeds the cancer.
Oh, wow.
Animal protein turns on growth genes in human beings. So, for instance, if I were to ask you what the natural diet for a cow, an elephant, a giraffe, or a rhino was, you'd all tell me plants, of course, right? Well, then I ask, at what point in those animals' lives do they naturally eat animal protein? What's your answer?
They don't.
They do. Think about it. There is a short period in their life when they eat animal protein.
Huh.
The mother's milk. Right?
What, the mother's milk?
Exactly.
Oh, right. Exactly. That's
Exactly.
fascinating. Yes.
And that is because animal protein for plant-based mammals stimulates growth. And so while they are growing infants, they are filling up on this animal protein, but then when they are weaned, they switch to their natural diet. But we humans, because we continue to eat this animal protein, we are continually stimulating our cells, telling them, try to grow, try to grow, try to grow. Well, when you're an adult, your cells can't grow, but they can form tumors. And that's why animal protein drives not only cancer, but it also drives all of the other things we see. You see people with lipomas, lumps. They get cysts on their breasts. Men's prostates enlarge. You get cysts on your vocal cords. People have skin tags and moles. All of that stuff is being driven by unnatural growth signals that people are ingesting or getting from ingesting animal protein in their diet. And so when you eliminate that animal protein, when you eliminate the hormones that are found in the bodies of the animals, when you eliminate the environmental toxins, which tend to be bioconcentrated in these animals, but then you also start to eat the plant foods, which actually directly kill cancer cells, boost your immune system, and decrease inflammation. That's why these people got these cures. So yes. There are solid, reliable physiologic mechanisms for it. But the thing is, you got to go all the way. It's like, you can't get married and say, honey, I'm still going to go down to the prostitute on Monday. No, you got to commit. And when you do that, God is able to use your body to heal you and get rid of these diseases.
Exactly.
Thank you for that, Dr. Mills. And I don't understand why. I mean, and I guess it's a challenge for a lot of folks to understand the importance of going plant-based and consuming more of these whole food plant-based meals. I mean, June is National Fresh Fruits and Vegetable Month, and I am the executive director of the Black Veg Society of Maryland, and we've been pushing this challenge, 10-day plant-based challenge, just to teach people that you can make these meals. It's easy, simple, and quick. So we've been doing that. And then today is Keep It Fresh Day. So we're asking people to post these plates based on what we've been teaching them. But going back and thinking about the boom of the What the Health documentary, because I remember that year very well, because that was one of the years that Land of Kush sales revenue just shot through the roof.
Awesome.
Talk about post What the Health. Have you seen, because that one year everybody was, what's been going on after that? It's been a few years, 3-4 years right now. Yeah. Are you still seeing the influx and the interest?
Absolutely. It's ongoing, because every day people are seeing this film for the first time and they're reaching out. Okay. So, yes, when it came out, there was a big boom, people finding me, reaching out, wanting help, wanting information, just thanking me for sharing the story, thanking me for being a part of this incredible film that just laid it out in no uncertain terms. This is the issue, and here's the solution, and here's why. So I was super excited just to be a part of that, and it still lives on. So I still get emails like pretty much every day from someone who just saw the movie and reaches out to me. So it's been awesome to be a part of that, and that be a part of really this whole movement. I mean, it's been going on, but you reach a critical mass, and this movie was definitely part of that critical mass that pushed it over to make this mainstream. So no longer are people, snickering about your diet. They're like, well, let me think about that, or let me try that for a week, or I just had a vegan meal. So it took it out of this weird little place to, okay, this is a real option with real science behind it. Let me take a closer look. And so, yeah, it's been great.
Dr. Mills?
I echo that completely. And when the film first came out, I literally couldn't walk down the halls of the hospital without someone stopping me saying, "Oh my God, you're that guy. You were in the film." And people were super interested in going plant-based. And as Ruby has just said, people are still seeing it for the first time. But there is a certain amount of intransigence and inertia within our community, but within the larger society, when it comes to changing our diet, particularly when it, at the idea of eliminating all animal foods. And that's because, unfortunately, people have been taught to desire these things, these products that are made by these fast food restaurants and so forth are literally designed by their chemists to be addictive.
Right.
And so, people have both a practice and a personal addiction to eating unhealthy foods. And the other thing is that they think that if they give up something that they know and they like, that they're going to miss it. And I understand that, because when I was first faced with the idea of going plant-based, that's what I thought. I thought that, first of all, I was not raised as a vegan or vegetarian, but my parents were from the South. We ate all kinds of meat. Although I will say parenthetically that in the second grade, I found out what chitlins were, and I said, I ain't eating that no more. But I still, I became aware of the fact that human beings were designed to be plant eaters, and that was the best diet for us when I was in my early teens. And but I didn't think I could live without a hamburger or, a steak or some chicken at some point. I honestly had that feeling like I can't do without this. And I clung to these things until about a year and a half after I become Christian. I was struggling with some personal issues, and I was talking to God about it one night, which again is very interesting because I was trying to work my way through a private church school. And so I had a job at night where I cleaned the floor in this candy factory, and I was alone. And so it just, hearing Ruby talk about how when you're alone, you can think more clearly, and I think what it is that we get voice better.
I agree.
And I was talking to God about these problems that I was having, and he said to me very clearly, he said, if you want a closer relationship with me, you need a clearer mind, and for that you need a better diet. You have to stop eating meat. And I remember that moment almost like it was yesterday, because I felt, as they say, a free zone, a panic, like, how am I going to do this? And then finally I just said, God, if you want me to stop, you have to take away the desire. And he did. And that was like over 40 years ago. And I've not desired meat, not wanted it. In fact, it disgusts me now. I wish there was a time machine so I could go back and like start being plant-based from birth. But
right. I'm sure we all do. But the key thing that the two of you mentioned was having that meditation time that I call it, to really think, and because a lot of us don't have, with everything going on social, the phone, the laptop, and Zoom. People don't take the time out to do that. I mean, when this whole COVID hit back in March, it wasn't a blessing for many because of what was happening. But I took the time out to ground myself because I was running around doing a whole bunch of things, didn't have time to kind of like sit and meditate. And now, my fitness gym went virtual, and this was like something that they did midday. So you get to really find yourself and ground yourself and really have those conversations with your higher power. Whoever you're worshiping to. So that's very important because that's where it starts.
It is. That's what I was saying, is that sometimes I feel like illnesses like stop us because we're so busy, we don't take time to take care of ourselves. And then when you get sick, everything stops, right? And that was for me. I was just on this grind, entrepreneur, doing this, that, and the other, never taking a break, never taking a moment. But cancer forced me to take that moment. And that's when I start getting in touch with that voice. I call it my gut, but that's inner voice. And it took the cancer for me to finally listen to that. And then I started meditating, and then now I could receive, because we're always even when we're in prayer, we're in the asking mode, talking, but we never like silence it to be in the receiving mode.
Exactly. I'm glad we're having this discussion because it's important for people to know. It's not just about, we're telling you to eat this, just look inside yourself. And what is it that you need to be doing? And then the answer will come. So the state of the African American vegan movement has grown, because we're becoming more aware, because we have folks like yourselves and myself and a lot of other activists out there that's outreaching and disseminating this information, and it's very important. Let's talk about the plant-based versus vegan, and healthy versus unhealthy, because that comes up all the time. I had a show a couple weeks ago where my friend went vegan and started eating the Impossible burgers and all of this processed stuff, and went to the doctor, and then had heart, high blood pressure and everything. And now I have a question from someone that Christine, she's not from the South, she's from Massachusetts. They rarely ate anything fried, and they noticed that a lot of vegetarian and vegan foods are sauteed in oil. Is there anything I can cook in the oven? So that whole vegan, plant-based, healthy versus unhealthy, can you speak to that?
Absolutely. I'll start. I know Dr. Mills has a lot to say on that too, but yes. So I look at the spectrum of good, better, best, right? So where we want to be is plant-based, where we're eating whole foods in their natural form. That's what I was eating for healing, was foods that are mostly raw, that heal the body. I've improved since then. I don't cook with oil. I cook with water instead of sauteing in oil, sauteing in water. So my food is organic. I'm eating the things as close to nature as possible. Do I eat an Impossible Burger or Beyond Burger occasionally? Yes, but it's not a part of my normal everyday diet. My normal diet is stuff that I got in the produce section. That's where I literally spend about 80% of my time when I go in the store is in the produce section. And then, a few condiments and things here and there and some whole grains and that kind of thing. So that is the way that I eat. So when I go out, I might splurge on vegan items that aren't like the healthiest, but they're still, light years ahead of animal products. So, for me, I feel like if it helps you get over that hump of eating meat, then it gets you one step closer to the whole plant-based living. So I don't, poo-poo on the mock meats and things like that, because I know it helps people get over it and then get on to something better. It's not, you don't have to stand still. You continue to evolve your diet until it's where it should be. For me, it was like, can I stop eating cheese until I learn how to make my own cheese and kind of things like that. And now there are all these great substitutes that you can, have. So I say whole foods in their most natural form as possible, as little heat as possible is where you want to be. The processed stuff, save it for your splurge, your cheat days, but let's eat whole food. And you can't be eating, just junk food, vegan stuff all day and expect to reap the full benefits of a plant-based diet, but you're still doing yourself a favor over junk food, animal product diet.
Thank you for that, Dr. Ruby. Dr. Mills.
Yeah, I'm going to pretty much echo just about everything that Ruby said, but I will say at the outset that, the terms vegan versus plant-based mean different things to different people. I tend to use them interchangeably. And what I mean is a diet that is completely devoid of animal products. Now, having said that, there is this special term that people often use that I think is very important and very descriptive. They say a whole food plant-based diet. What does that? That means that you are eating things that look like they came off a tree or were dug up out of the ground or picked off a plant, so that the food is as close to its natural state as possible. Now, what about some of the plant-based products? Well, clearly, the goal is not to stop eating, the standard American or SAD diet and then just switch over to a diet that is all, Beyond Burgers, ice cream, and potato chips. That's not healthy. We need to be eating plants. But what you can do is, if you want to utilize some of these plant-based products, like, say, field roast sausage, which actually is pretty decent in terms of the way it's made.
We use that for our brunch on Sundays.
Right. Well, instead of just eating field roast sausage and a sprig of parsley, you take that field roast sausage, you chop it up, and you use it in a stew. Or you use it as part of a whole food plant-based meal, but not as the centerpiece the way meat eaters do. And you always make sure that, as Ruby said, you process or cook your vegetables as little as possible. You're eating a large percentage of raw foods, and that you're having brightly colored fruits and vegetables every day. I keep telling people, we're in this whole big thing in the country about dealing with racism and sublimated racism and the tendency of some people to want to see a homogenous society. And I'm like, I don't know what universe they live in. I don't know what God they worship. Because when you look at nature, when you look at the universe, it's clear that God has put his imprimatur on diversity. He loves diversity. Diversity is the way that we should eat when we eat foods. And so that means as many colors, as many different types of plants as we can reasonably fit into, a meal, because that means that diet is going to be healthiest. And the more color your foods have, the healthier they are for you. Again,
Right.
I tell audiences, the only white things at your dinner table should be the tablecloth and the people eating dinner. Everything else should have some color.
Like that, Dr. Mills. So how do you respond when people say that vegan food or vegetables and things like that are not real food? You must be eating animal products, yeah, because this is like, those are sides that can't possibly be food or milk. I want to hear your response to that, because I hear that and then I'm offended because we have restaurants that selling, and then it's like, what do you mean we don't have real food here? What do you?
Right.
Rudy, you want to go first, because I'm got these organized.
Yeah, so it just requires a shift in thinking that, so what food is, so I kind of help people reimagine what the components of a meal are, and making the vegetables the centerpiece of that. And that is because what we're trying to get from our food is the nutrients. We want it to taste good, of course, but those are the things that have the bulk of it, the fruits and the vegetables and the colorful things. So that's what we want to focus on. I'm like, if you give the attention to the vegetables that you give to meat rubs and jerking chicken and sauteing, marinating overnight and doing all the intense things that people do to get meat actually palatable, if you did half of that to the vegetables, then it would be really good as well. And that can be the centerpiece. And then you just have to relearn cooking, is what I had to do. Like, how do you make things without milk and dairy? Because I wasn't a meat eater. It was more dairy, fish and things like that. And so for me, it was, how do I cook without milk, cheese, and eggs? So learning, reimagining how to do that, learning new recipes, learning the techniques really just opens you up. So when people say that, I just know they haven't educated themselves enough to know what they're talking about. So it's time to give them a little more education, that making that vegetable product the centerpiece and building around that. So it's I have to take a deep breath and then act like this is the first time I've heard that question and answer it appropriately.
Thank you for that, Dr. Ruby. Dr. Mills.
Okay. The first thing I ask people is, who taught you that dining on a corpse was healthy? I really want people to step back and think about that, because you are literally swilling death. And I told my nephew when he came to live with me, I said, if you eat meat, you might as well go into funeral homes and lick the dead bodies, because a corpse is a corpse is a corpse. And I remind people that as babies, we are all born without preferences. Babies don't come out asking for ice cream, pork chops, or a piece of chicken. And in fact, early studies on food preferences in children show that they disliked animal tissue or meat until their parents, by repetition, forced them to start eating it. Mm-hmm. And given that, the question is not what do I like? It's what is food supposed to do for my body? Is food supposed to be the equivalent of a self-induced oral orgasm? Or does food have a different purpose? And the purpose of food is to be a delivery vehicle to your body for not just energy, but nutrients.
Right.
And things that promote your health. So you cannot call something that is creating disease and shortening your lifespan food. It's products that you may enjoy. I tell people it's like dairy. The Dairy Council tries to make people think they need dairy. Dairy's like smoking meth. You can do it for fun and recreation, but it's not a health behavior. Right. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, what is the food that I eat doing for my body and for my overall health, for my mental functioning, and helping me to ward off dementia? And if the answer is nothing, then that's not food. That's not something you should eat. And exactly. As far as you always get but doc, I like, or doc, I love. Well, again, I ask people, how many people are in a relationship? Generally in the room, most of the hands will go up, and I then ask, Well, how many of you are in a relationship with the very first person you fell in love with? Nobody raises their hand. And
I like that one.
yeah,
That's pretty good.
we all can think back to a time we were in love with someone and we thought we couldn't inhale unless we were inhaling their exhaled breath. And then they did something stupid, like put on a MAGA hat, and we said, why am I with this idiot? So just like we learn to get over other people, we can get over a diet that we had been taught to eat and embrace one that is healthier for us and that actually promotes and affirms our health instead of destroying it.
I agree. Thank you for that. I just want to take this time to just do some plugs. I want to thank Jane Unchained for allowing us this platform to have this discussion. Please subscribe to NaijhaSpeaks.com. If you have some friends that are missing this live, it will be on replay on NaijhaSpeaks.com, on the Facebook pages of Jane Unchained, the Land of Kush, Black Vegetarian Society of Maryland, and Vegan Soul Fest, so you can catch the replays there. Please post your plant-based plates today. It's Keep It Fresh Day. Use hashtag Keep It Fresh Day. We will find you. We have prizes that we want to give to folks that are posting the best plant-based plates. And please, if you haven't gotten the fabulous Tracy McWhirter's African-American Vegan Starter Guide, you can download it at AfricanAmericanVeganStarterGuide.com. Shout out to Welfare World, Veg Fund, and women funders in animal rights in supporting me in the work that I do. I have a question from Christine.
Can I add something really quickly?
Yes, go ahead, Dr. Mills.
Whoever wins that competition for the best plate, I believe they should have told you that you're responsible for delivering some of it to all three of us.
Absolutely.
Now that's a plus. Magnesium deficiency, and I've been there. So what vegetable is recommended for a magnesium deficiency?
Well, I'm going to say magnesium is widely distributed in plant foods. But I'm going to be honest, I don't recall off the top of my head which foods are highest right now. But if you Google it, all you have to do is Google plant foods high in magnesium. It'll pop up.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I mean, with the technology that we have today, I Google everything right now. Yeah. So,
Yeah. And like you said, it's not that hard on a plant-based diet because it's, mostly going to be in the beans and nuts and seeds. A lot of things are going to be there, but magnesium is definitely higher there. But you might need it, some additional if you've been under a lot of stress. We tend to use that magnesium.
I went to my holistic doctor, and that's what I needed, the magnesium. So I'm taking supplements now. My stress level was like through the roof.
Yeah, we tend to use the vitamins and the magnesium more under chronic stress.
Yes.
So it is a good idea.
I'm taking a supplement, Christine. So just to let you know, because my stress is like that high.
If chronic stress is what does it, then probably every person of color in the United States needs to be on a magnesium.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, for sure.
Any upcoming projects that either you are working on right now?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I have recently launched Ruby Red's Ready to Eat Meals deliveries. So we're just getting that off the ground. We had deliveries going out today. So it's all whole food, plant-based food I would eat, organic. So I only serve food that I eat myself. The recipes are incredible. So folks can go to my website and click on, or go to Ruby Red's Vegan and see the menu. Yeah, and you put your order in by Thursday. Vegan. Yeah, and it's Reds with an S, Ruby Red's Vegan, and order. And we're delivering right now within 40 miles of DC, but we're going to be quickly expanding that outside of that area, and then other locations around the country. So you can stay tuned for that. So I'm excited. People are responding well. They're loving the food. And we're looking forward to some really great rapid growth on that, among other things. And then my other thing I launched last week on my birthday was my online course, How to Get Out of the Life You Created.
Nice.
Yes. And so that is for people looking to make drastic, quantum leaps in their lives and just choosing the life that you want. And so those are the two things that I have been up night and day working on, and I'm super, super excited about.
Where can they find out about that course?
They can go to my website or drruby.academy.
Okay.
Where I'll be putting all of my courses that are coming up. So this is just the first of many. So we're going to be getting into courses on obviously more plant-based food eating and lifestyle changes, meditation and visualization and those kind of things. But this is the starter that encompasses all of those things.
And it's drruby.academy?
Academy, yes. So
okay.
www.drruby.academy, DRRUBY.academy.
Okay, we got it there in the chat. Dr. Mills, what are you working on?
Well, wow, I got 10 million ideas running through my mind.
You sound like me.
But the thing that I'm really pleased about is I just talked to you guys about the cancer lecture that I have recently put together. I actually gave that lecture for the Rochester Vegan Society a couple months ago. They filmed it, put it online. But since then, I've actually expanded and updated it. And I just finished the last few slides on that. And the reason this is all kind of dovetailing is that the last slides that I put into the lecture were on selenium, zinc, vitamin C, and D3 and their impact on immune function and how that can help not only prevent cancer, but ward off other diseases. So now that I've got the finishing touches on that, I can kind of move on to a couple of other projects. The big project that I have been working on for the last 30 years is trying to get my book written on the fact that human beings are natural herbivores, so that people, because I'm a big believer that the more people understand, the easier it is for them to make change and commit to it. And this book will explain in great detail, using comparative anatomy, also looking at human psychology and physiology and health and our impact, excuse me, on the environment, that we clearly are an exclusively plant-based species. And when we stick to that diet, excuse me, I'm sorry, that's when we have the best health, lowest risk for chronic disease, dementia, and we're most functional throughout our entire lifespan, and we live longer. The problem is that I got 2 sets of elderly parents that I'm helping to take care of, and so I have to work a lot, and I just don't have the dedicated time I wish I had to devote to writing the book. I mean, people keep saying I should start a GoFundMe for this, but Lord knows I wouldn't even know how to begin to do that. But and then the other project that it's not so much a project as it is a concept, is that there are a lot of people that do sort of jump starts, which are great and wonderful, and people get a lot of benefit from it. But I think that, in my opinion, for people to be able to really transition to a plant-based lifestyle and commit to it, a lot of people need much more help and much more guidance and assistance than they can receive in a 10 or 15-day jumpstart. And so I came up with this concept of I'm now calling it PBATs, which stands for Plant-Based Action Teams, where you have a group comprised of a nutritionist, a health coach, and a vegan chef that will come in, sit down with a particular person or family, look at where they are, and then formulate a plan to help them transition completely to a plant-based diet. And it will encompass all of their needs in terms of learning the health benefits and making sure they're eating all of the foods that give them the nutrients they need, just like the question we had from the last person who wrote in, but also teaching them how to cook, because as Ruby said, that's really key. Cooking plant-based is very different from cooking dead flesh.
Yes.
And you have to know what you're doing so that your food is both tasty and healthy, because nobody wants to live on granola and celery sticks. I know,
right, exactly.
and and hummus and rice cakes also won't cut it. And then the life coach will help teach people how to clean out their kitchen, how to shop for food, how to read food labels, and just how to prepare for parties, either giving one or going to one, which, all long-term vegans know you take your own food. But a lot of newbies don't realize that. And then they get there and find out that the only thing that they can eat is some wilted lettuce, and they end up starving all night. So it's just all of those practical things would be comprised in that PBAT team to really help people transition effectively. And I know that in certain areas around the country, there are people or groups that are doing things that are very similar, which is wonderful. But I would like to see this a PBAT team in every major metropolitan area so that people would know where they can go to get the assistance they need to change their lives.
I think that's a fabulous idea, Dr. Mills. I mean, I saw people shouting out in the comments about getting a virtual assistant, somebody helping you with the GoFundMe. I'm here at just we can have a conversation offline about, that's what we're here for. I'm just gonna add something else on my plate. There goes that magnesium.
I always say, if you want to get something done, ask a busy woman.
Exactly.
Now that's the truth.
We're down to our last few minutes, and I had a question about what your thoughts were about what's happening in this country with the social and food justice, and we can talk about the milk the milk too, because we didn't cover a lot of it. And I know you both were involved with the dairy workshops that have been going on through Afro Vegan Society. So let's take some time to talk about that, the milk, and then everything else that's going on in terms of social and food justice in this country.
Ruby, go ahead.
Sure. So, I've been saying for a long time that, our diet can be a very strong revolutionary act, because you're defying a system that's been set up for your failure so that you're part of this system that makes money off of you until you die. And that was really my resistance to getting on a medication, of being a cog in the wheel that makes somebody else rich at my detriment. So when we decide that we're going to step out of the mainstream lie that they've told us about food and say, no, I'm going to take charge of my health, you are bucking the system and saying, I'm not buying into that. I am not going to be a cog in your wheel. I am not going to be a deathly ill person with all the diseases that come along with that. I'm not going to have to go to that dialysis center that's next to McDonald's. I choose a different way based on what's put on my plate so that I can bypass and bystep all of that. I feel like that's one of the biggest things that we have so much control over. And I'm so excited about the movement that's going on right now. I mean, in the last few months, our world has been turned upside down, and it is incredible and it is good. And I want the revolution of our eating to be a part of that, because we can start saving ourselves, like with every meal, every day, tomorrow, starting your new life. So I continue to take that stance and educate people and let them know, hey, you can step outside of the system that is designed to make you a victim here. So let's not do that.
I appreciate that, Dr. Ruby. Dr. Mills?
Yeah, again, I'm going to echo and co-sign everything she said. But, one of the things that really gets me is I see and hear people saying, I'm tired of the man destroying my life. I'm tired of, the predominant culture circumscribing what I can do and where I can go. Well, my question is, then why are you eating that piece of dead flesh and smoking cigarettes, which are going to make you sick, destroy your life, and make you easier to control? Because it's been a recurring pattern in American history to take people of color from positions and situation of food sufficiency and put them in a place where they become food dependent, and then purposely feed them unhealthy, poor quality food items that make them sick, because sick people are easy to control. Also,
right.
They don't have the energy to fight the oppression properly.
Exactly.
So the missing piece to this revolution is we need to throw off all of this erroneous teaching about eating animal food centered diets, eating at Chick-fil-A, Burger King's, Popeyes, that stuff is poison, and it is making us sick. It is making us docile, and it is keeping us bedridden and dying early, which is exactly what those who don't have our best interests at heart want. So we have got to, as Ruby said, bring the revolution to our plates, throw off this traditional way of eating, and get back to what really is our traditional roots, and that is a whole food, plant-based diet.
I'm going to put that in the chat. Bring the revolution to our plates.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the both of you coming on today. I know everybody is really busy, and Dr. Mills, you're just getting off of a shift. Folks can follow you. Anybody watching is in the chat. I appreciate you. Everyone be safe. Again, subscribe to NaijhaSpeaks.com. Tell your friends to watch this replay. Post those plant-based plates. Go to bbsmd.org for more info about what the Black Vegetarian Society of Maryland is about and what we're doing. And download the African American Vegan Starter Guide by Tracy McWhirter. Again, I appreciate you. Love you until we meet again face to face. Everybody,
it's
good
been
night.
a pleasure. Absolutely.
Thank you. Always great to chat with you and Dr. Mills.
Yes. All right.
Have a good one.
Okay. You guys take care.